What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Thinking CAAP. I'm Beck, CEO of Community Action Association of Pennsylvania. Really excited for today's episode because it marks our 20th episode officially of the Thinking CAAP. This was a podcast that was an idea that was born from Amanda Hopprich and I talking one night about just things that we wanted to do, things that would be helpful for the network of community action professionals across the state of Pennsylvania and frankly beyond across the country. And it was this idea about how could we offer something that was flexible, something that offered learning when people were driving to and from work. We know that you're not just sitting at your computer every single day. You're driving in your car to maybe a home visit or to a funding visit, or just maybe you're driving to our conference right now. And we wanted something that could provide just some more conversation, some more depth, and really showcase the remarkable work that's happening across community action and bring new leaders, new thinkers to our network to introduce them to some amazing people. And so couldn't be more pleased that this particular episode is our 20th with Bree Groff, who's going to be our keynote at this year's conference in 2025 in October. We want to thank you to our listeners. We've talked to so many incredible people. We've explored big ideas about community, leadership, and action. And we couldn't have done it without you listening to all of these great episodes. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us. And here's to the next 20. Don't forget, if you have a suggested guest, a great idea, please send it to us at info@thecap. We want to hear from you. We want to connect with you. And we want another 20 episodes, 100 episodes. Thanks, everybody. And without further ado, here's our next episode.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Thinking CAAP. I'm Beck, CEO at Community Action Association of Pennsylvania. With me, my fearless co-host, Heather from Holloway Media Services. What's up, Heather?
Hey, what's up, party people? Yeah, it's Heather Holloway with Holloway Media Services. So thrilled to be here. This is going to be so much fun, this episode, because we're talking about one of my favorite subjects, and that's joy and happiness.
Well, and literally, our speaker is here to talk about a book that she wrote talking about work as fun. So we're going to get into it in just a second. But before we do that, Heather, just want to ask, anything exciting brewing, any shameless promotions you want to do, anything going on? I know you just launched a new website. So, I'm here's your platform, friend. Talk about it.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so very much. Yeah, I will take it. Yeah. So the heatherholloway.com, everybody says, oh, Heather, I need a little bit of your energy. I want a dose of Heather. Well, now you can get it, heatherholloway.com. And also, if there's any executive leaders out there, I talk about stress and resilience. And bringing, just like we're going to talk with our guest here in just a second, but, bringing more fun back into the work field force and seeing how we can do that. So yeah, heatherholloway.com. Beck, thank you so much. And on the reverse, what's CAAP promoting right now?
Yeah, we're super busy in conference planning mode, which is part of why we're here to talk with Bree today, in trying to give everybody a little bit of a sneak peek about upcoming conference, end of October. So October 27th through the 29th, I think, are the official dates. We're going to be back in Lancaster at the Eden Resort and Suites and have a really amazing time with all of our agencies. We've got some scholarships that we're providing this year, thanks to our partners at the Department of Community and Economic Development. So I know right now, troubling times with trying to find funding, and we're trying to really make sure to remove some of those barriers so we still get people to participate. Because we know now more than ever, people want to be spending time together, right? As we talked about, Heather, in a couple of different episodes, right? Filling our cup, even though I've lost mine somewhere in my house, it's filled with something I probably shouldn't talk about on this podcast. But at some point, I know I have it. But the conference, right, gives us that opportunity to just spend time together, right? Making sure that people feel like they're not alone. So excited about the planning for that. We just kicked off today a really, I think, amazing project to better understand the local economic impact of community action across the state of Pennsylvania. We're working with some researchers from Penn State. So stay tuned for that network of community action folks who are in Pennsylvania. Excited to be able to showcase that in some way, shape, or form back at conference. But with all that in mind, right, to kind of in our back pockets, excited to be here to talk with Bree and give our listeners a little bit of a sneak peek for our conference and our keynote.
Oh my gosh, we have an amazing guest today, Bree Groff. She is a workplace culture expert and author of Today Was Fun, a book about work. Seriously. She spent her career guiding C-suite leaders at companies such as Microsoft, Google, Pfizer, Calvin Klein. Did you get to work with Marky Mark? We'll get to that. Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, through periods of complex change. She is a senior advisor to the global consultancy SY Partners, previously served as the CEO of Noble Collective, and she holds an MS in Learning and Organizational Change from Northwestern University. Bree lives in New York City with her husband and daughter. Bree, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me. Okay, you two have such fun energy. I think I would just like to hang around you two all day. I imagine you have some fun at work.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do, as a matter of fact. That's part of why we wanted Heather to help co-host and why we do this podcast, because we genuinely like spending time together and have fun. So hopefully our listeners feel that. I said in our last episode that we just launched, which has one of your prior colleagues, Georgia Del Frio, Bree, who you all got to meet in I think your master's program, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And listening back to that episode, I laughed, I cried. I mean, the energy that our team has. It's just it's good. Aww. It's good. It's good to love where you work and love what you do.
Yeah, which isn't normally the case, Bree. I mean, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes. Yeah. So normally when I say like, oh, I wrote a book about fun at work, a lot of times it's like, oh, does not compute. So, and a lot of times I'll hear two ends of the spectrum of people's orientations to work. There's on one end of the spectrum, work is called work for a reason. We show up, we get our paycheck. That's just the state of the world. And I understand that feels just honest to a lot of people. But I think we've given up too soon. On the other end of the spectrum, you'll also hear like work is, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, make work your passion. And for some people, they do that and like, awesome. But also, one, that's a super high bar. So if you're waking up and thinking like, oh, am I living my life's work and my calling? And you don't feel like you're meeting the bar, like that can be stressful. And also sometimes even when we feel like, oh, we love our work, we can overwork, because now if we're pursuing some sort of calling, like, why aren't I doing it all the time? Like I should be maximizing the time I spend there. So, I spend my time thinking about what is potentially a third way where work is not drudgery, but also work doesn't take everything from us, such that we lose our cups to fill in the first place. But what's some sort of middle ground where work is actually just fundamentally fun? It's fun to create value. It's fun to support other people. It's fun to build with people that we like. Work can be a great way to spend our brief days on this planet. And so that's what I think a lot about.
So as an aspiring author, I'm curious about this next question, in that it's, I'm in the process of writing a book right now, and it is quite the labor of love.
Yeah.
And I find myself sort of pausing at different times and both loving and hating what I've written. But what do you love the most about what you've created?
Oh my gosh, that's such a fun question. Two things, and they're both kind of the wrong answer. So the right answer to why you write a book is like, and especially for an impact audience, like the right answer is like, I did it for the impact, to change lives. And also like, that's been super fulfilling. Don't get me wrong. When people send messages of like, this meant so much to me and it changed, like that's been amazing. But also there were two bits of the process that lit me up in a way that I didn't really know how much they'd mean to me. One was simply the self-expression of it, like the art of it. Because, I've spent so much time in consulting where I'm really like trying to help the client say what they want to say. I'm trying to like manifest their vision. I've worked in corporate environments or professional environments for so long. You sort of get in your head about like, oh, I should sort of say these kinds of things. But when you're writing a book, I had someone tell me the things you would only whisper to a friend, that's what you put in your book. Like you got to say the quiet part out loud, and that makes a good book. So the self-expression of it, like that felt great. Like I've been wanting to say these things for years. And then the second part, honestly, is the friends. Like some days I'm like, wait, did I write a book just for the friends? Like all the people I've gotten to meet through podcasts or events or other authors, just this amazing community of, thinkers and dreamers, people who are hoping to make the world a better place, who come from a place of imagination. Like, so the friends have been cool too. Yeah.
And they also say too, Beck, like you write the book that you need to read.
Yeah.
Is that what they say? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have a book coach, right? And she said, right, like what's going to make them turn the page? And if you wouldn't turn the page for your own book, then, what's the thing that's going to make you turn the page? And you have to be really thoughtful about that. And that's, I don't know if you felt this way, but I feel like right now it's a little bit like immersive therapy, right? Like I'm unpacking all of these things, and regardless of, right, if it's, what I would qualify as kind of a leadership book about how to lead this in some way, shape, or form, whether you're the CEO or a frontline staff member or whatever it is that you do with an organization, it's about, I think, leading with joy. It's about trying to own, everybody owns a piece of workplace culture within their organization. How do you influence that? What are the ways you can do it, whether you're at the top, somewhere in the middle, or right at the very beginning stages of your career? And one of the things that I think we don't really talk a lot about is workplace PTSD, right? And how that shows up and how then we show up in order to be able to have fun. So it's like, I want to have fun, but do I really think that my leader completely embraces what I think of this, right, as fun? And do I not give myself permission? Like, what's the thing that's stopping? And I'm sure in some of your consulting work, you've unboxed that with companies and organizations to influence how to create the space for people to really show up in that way.
Yeah. And it is different in different cultures. And I totally get that some cultures feel more safe for fun and humanity than others do. And not even just the fun that is like the happy hour or we're joking around, but also the sort of fun where like, oh, we can propose really bold new ideas and try and make them a reality. We can sort of like push the boundaries of our industry. Like that's also sort of fun. And yeah, there's definitely organizations and industries that are a little bit more like got their shirts tucked in real tight, and exactly right. Got their top button buttoned all the way to the top. And in those, it's always I always see it as a matter of, can you push it 10% and see if anything bad happens? So even if you like have to be in a suit all day, can you wear a fun sock? Even in a super formal meeting, can you crack like totally safe for work, silly joke and see if like you get any side eye? Or if it doesn't feel safe to have fun, like within the larger organization, like maybe you just have a work bestie or like a couple people that you can DM and be yourself with. The greatest thing would be we all feel comfortable being just who we are at work and sharing our best ideas and enjoying a laugh, and have that put us at risk of side eye. But there's always small places to start to sort of like crack that professional exterior and sort of open people up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we'll get into some of those things in just a little bit here. So when I think about the title of the book, Today Was Fun, right? It's a phrase that we often don't necessarily hear about work as you speak about, and in the first few chapters in particular. So for you, right, I think let's talk a little bit about what it really means and what do you hope people take away from the title, and or right, why pick up the book? I know why I picked up the book, but
oh well, I got to hear that too. Yeah. Because frankly, some people see the enormous neon smiley face and are like, this does not look like a book that I would normally read about work. To which I respond, that's kind of the point. But anyway, yeah. So the phrase "today was fun." It's the simplest metric that I can think of, and most human metric for are we doing a good job in our organizations most days. So I should say that chapter 1 is titled Most Work, Most Days Should Be Fun. Like, I'm not at all about the optimization, perfection, but if we're not enjoying ourselves most days, that means most days of our lives, 5/7 of each week, we're not enjoying ourselves. And I think that's a big problem. At its best, when I think about what fun looks like at work, we can make the work itself fun. Like, work is steak. It's delicious. It's juicy. I'm looking forward to it. Ignore this if you're vegan. But you get the idea. Or maybe you're at a role or in an organization where your work is broccoli. Like, you do it because it's good for you or your bank account. You sort of feel like you have to get through it. Then your strategy is like, put some cheese on the broccoli. That looks a little bit more like, I'm going to have little moments of joy throughout my day. I'm going to do my day sort of like The Office style, like the sitcom, where we're selling paper, but at least we're having a good time with each other while we're doing it. So there's so many different ways to have fun at work. In addition to the fact that for some people, the work, like doing the work itself, creating the operations plans, the marketing plans, the going out to the field, like that is fun. But that's not the only way to have fun at work. It could also be like, oh, I really hate the work itself, but I love mentoring. And so my direct reports, those people bring me joy. Or like, none of that is fun, but I actually really love learning and growth. So there's so many ways to diversify our joy at work that I think it's possible for anybody, no matter the situation, to find some good in their days. So to your question, I guess, like, why would someone pick up the book? I would hope because the book will help you have better days. They'll help you love your days and also treat them with respect. So often we think of our days as the input into an organization's bottom line, or if not a bottom line, like I'm the input to this impact, right? Like I'm the human resource, and I'm trying to sort of correct that narrative to say, like, no, you also are a human who gets to enjoy your days on the planet too. You're not just the resource here.
Yeah, I think that's the core of what I know, both Heather and I speak about workplace culture and sort of, right, like, how to create those types of environments for ourselves. How do we give grace back to people? And I think that's part of the framework that we talk about. Like, we are all humans who are trying to human, so life be lifing. And yet, right, like, we somehow forget about that then when people walk through the workplace and say, through the door, and they're like, you got to check all of this and focus on the things. But when the work is already hard, so in the work that community action does, right, it's incredibly hard and incredibly layered. And so trying to find the time that maybe we don't take ourselves as seriously and find joy, so that the hard moments don't feel as hard because we're together, right? And we're doing it together, is really hypercritical. Heather, you were going to say something.
Yeah, well, I was just going to build on top of that, the work that we're doing together and how much time we're spending at work. I just did a quick little Google search. We spend about a third of our lives, almost 90,000 hours over a lifetime in work. So that could be about 13 years of your life.
Yeah.
Can you being upset for 13 years or finding the joy in it?
Yeah.
So here's the question, Bree. Is it a choice? Is joy a choice?
1,000%. And this is not to make anyone feel bad. Like, the whole book is judgment free. It's just to be helpful. So like, if someone's having a bad time, the last thing I want to do is shame them for having a bad time. Now you have to feel bad about the fact that you're having a bad time. But the message is that we always own our own days. And it can sometimes feel like, no, my weekdays don't belong to me. They belong to the organization, or they belong to the people that I'm serving. Like, I'm just here as a resource, but it's not true. You still get to be responsible for your own experience of a day. And there's all sorts of ways to sort of take control over what that day looks like. And also your mindset around it too. There's a lot of stoicism in the book, a whole chapter about what do we do when work is stressful and not going our way, and how do we deal with it. And for those listening who don't know much about Stoicism, it sort of gets a bad rap. It sounds like, oh, I'm not expressing any of my emotions or I'm suppressing them. But it's really not it. It's what do we do with our emotions when we have them? And so there's a concept, a Stoicism concept called amor fati, or to love your fate. So not just endure the hard times, but how can you decide like, oh, well, if this is what's going to be happening in my life or in my work, what are some ways to love it? I don't know. So maybe some policies or something is getting messed up in your work, and so you can't proceed on a certain project. That could be so frustrating, and I could believe that it is. And is there a way to say, oh, I actually have a few free days now where I can't make progress on that, but there's something else I always wanted to do. So I think in many ways it is a mindset. And, I mentioned the show The Office a lot because they show there was nothing meaningful or purposeful about paper sales, but still what they proved through that show was that work is fun if we make it that way. If we choose to make work fun, it will be fun. And so even if you're not the CEO, like even if it's just you and a few people around you on your local team, that's just sort of like a shared head nod. Like, do we just want to make it a little bit more fun? Yeah, let's do it. And that could look like anything, like a little high five when you finish some report that you have to do. There's so much joy that's on offer if we just stop and take it.
I love that. Yeah. Joy on offer all the time.
Yeah, I was reading this morning to kind of remind myself of a couple of things that I wanted to make sure to bring up. And one of the things that I love that you talk about is, right, this sort of decision about whether or not you're going to be remote or not remote and some of the influence on that. And so for CAAP, as our listeners know, as we've talked about, we see each other collectively twice a year. Otherwise, we work across the state of Pennsylvania. It's, we have finite resources. And so we can't afford to just get together, right? And so we try to figure out ways of weaving in the fun when we are together, whether that's in a little plastic box on a screen, right, or in person. And then we also try to be really thoughtful as an association. And so kind of, again, back to the point of this little bit of a sneak peek for conference is that we really try to create what we call peak moments in the experience, because that's what people remember, right? I could have a great conference with good content and good food and just, whatever, ho-hum. People are going to remember that though. So what's like the peak fun moment? So this year, for instance, last year we had karaoke. This year we're doing Halloween-based karaoke, so a little bit of a costume party, on one of the first nights, because why the heck not? It's Halloween. Like, we might as well. You want to come in a costume? Awesome. If you don't, that's okay too. Yep. There might be a little bit of judgment from me inside, but I'm not going to tell you that until later. But I think those moments, right? We just can't take ourselves too seriously sometimes, and I think we forget that there are global companies that work remotely all the time, and nobody's that complicated that you can't figure out some better balance of in-person, virtual, something. I appreciate that for those of you who are in human services that are listening, right? Yes, there is some work that you have to be present for. I get that. I understand that. I'm not naive to that. You have to be tied to a desk sometimes. But, right, everybody has capacity to create an environment in which this can exist, I think.
Yeah. Some of my closest project teams were during the pandemic when we were 100% remote, because I'll often say physical distance does not imply emotional distance.
Yes, that's the line I wrote down.
Oh, amazing.
I literally wrote it down in my notes. You reading my notes. What the heck?
No way. Okay. I'm glad I also quoted myself correctly. Sometimes I'm like, wait, what was that thing? Yeah, it's totally, because it's so much more a matter of like the emotional vibes, for lack of a more academic term, of like, can we show up and be ourselves? Is it okay if the dog barks in the background? Do we take a few minutes at the top of a meeting just to be like, hey, how are you? Which is such a fundamental human activity, to greet someone and ask how they are. And yet it's like the first thing that gets squeezed out of meetings when people are busy. Like, okay, jump right into the agenda. It's totally possible. Well, I know it's possible to feel very close as a team while remote. And then, as you say, like when you do get in person, like have yourself the Halloween karaoke party, because I think so often we're nervous about being judged. Oh, like this isn't professional. What are people going to think? But deep down, everybody wants to have fun. Everyone wants to be invited to the fun party. So if one person, or at least the conference host, can organize that, it sends a message to everyone else that like, oh, we can be professional and brilliant and impactful and sing Halloween karaoke. Like those things can coexist.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm sorry, Beck.
No, go ahead, Heather. Go ahead.
Bree is going to say, can fun and professionalism exist? And you just beautifully showcased how it can. And Beck, I'm so jealous I'm not going to be at conference because I love karaoke and I love Halloween.
It's true.
But going back to this really quickly, we talked about busyness, right? Like getting into the agenda, get into the meeting, let's go. We got to grind it out because so often our worth is, well, what did we do today? So, why are busyness and conformity killing this brilliance, this brilliant work? And then what can we do about this?
Yeah. So we have to remember the goal is not to have an efficient organization. The goal is to have an effective organization, which really fundamentally, I think, shifts the way that we think about the work, because you could do tons of work really quickly, but it could be the wrong work. Everyone could be miserable. It could be the right work, but you're doing it the wrong way. So when I talk about busyness and conformity, I think of these are the things that are threats, I guess, to doing brilliant, impactful, and human work. And on the meeting topic, I understand the instinct to go quickly, like we only have so many hours a day, we got to get into it, go, go, go. But also having a trusting team is having a high performing, and there's so much research and data about trusting teams drive performance, psychological safety drives performance. It's been studied so much, it's almost not worth questioning anymore. But the question is,
but yet people are still questioning it, to be clear. I mean, the number of times that I say over and over and over again, number one trait that people are looking for in a workplace right now is psychological safety. I have it on repeat in every presentation I do. And you're like, people are like, oh, yes, that's so true. But we're still talking about it. We're still trying to have to prove it somehow. And I'm sorry to step on your statement there, but I just need to say that out loud.
Oh my God, I know. I think the problem is I'm getting bored of saying it. I'm like, I've been doing this so long. Can you just get up? But yes, I agree. And so it's worth making sure we're all on the same page, that engagement and trust does drive performance. So then we have to ask ourselves, well, how are you building trust? And at a very fundamental, we're still humans as much as we try to make ourselves robots during the day. But one, we don't need to be. AI is here. Let AI be the robots. Let the humans be the humans. And what humans need is they need to know each other before they can like or trust each other. It's just like human psychology, right? And so at the very basic, we just need to know some things about who the person is across from us and how they're doing that day. So I often advocate for this exercise. It's like the check-in. It's just like a formal way to say, how are you? But it's, how's everybody doing today? Scale of 1 to 5, put it on your hands, 3, 2, 1, go. I'm a 2, I'm a 4. And then 30 seconds, you run around the room and say how you are. I've been using this practice for over a decade. There's lots of research to support psychological safety and cognitive offloading and all of these things. But at the heart of it, it's just asking people how they are and listening, which for some reason has become so anti-business or anti efficiency that it blows my mind.
Each other anymore.
Right.
We're just texting. It's short form.
Well, and I think that part of what we've talked about in a couple other episodes at some point, or maybe I'm confusing a presentation that I've done, but I think that idea, right? If I can't unpack and recognize out loud, I brought this weight into this meeting with me today. You may not have known, right, about the 35 things that have happened. And I don't feel like I can say the 35 things that happened before I stepped into the Zoom room. I can't be effective. I'm carrying some form of anxiety because I can't share, right? So that's going to make me less effective in the workplace, right? There's a million other things that's going to create for me in how I show up. And so when you start to, and we've talked about this, Heather, right? Can't just put trust on a t-shirt or on a sign and expect everybody to trust each other. It, I think, derails trust a lot of times because of mistrust that already exists that you don't even know people have. And so what are the building blocks to trust? Where are you starting as an organization? And I think there are pieces of what you certainly talk about, Bree, that embed those moments of creating some of the trust. One of the things that I really love that you talked about was, and it's something we actually do with our kids at dinner time. And we grew up in, fairly chaotic homes, my wife and I, and yet we still found ourselves sitting at dinner every night. And so it's something at the table, right? It was one of the things that we did as a family. And so it's something that we've, has been really important to us. And we want to try to reinstill in our kids. So we don't eat in front of the television. I'm not judging anybody who does, by the way. This is just me, my personal preference here. But we go around the table and everybody has to share on the nights that we're together what was everybody's favorite part of their day. And what, I was watching a reel or I don't know, a video about it. And what that sort of unpacks psychologically, right, is that you start to look for the good moment that you want to share then. So we start to look for the good moments. And so one of the pieces in the book that you talk about is asking people the moment that they were having the most joy. I love that as a check-in activity or just something to regularly embed within a team meeting. But I don't know if you want to talk more about that at all. But I love that moment in the book.
Sure. Yeah. It's something I called spot and multiply your joy, because you're right. If it's easy to miss all the joys in our lives, right? We're moving from one thing to the next. Like, how often do we scarf down a sandwich and then you're like, oh wait, what did that even taste like? I don't know. Right? It's like we've anesthetized ourselves because we're moving so quickly and attending to the urgent over the beautiful in our lives. So I think the question is important, because if we are looking out for what's joyful in my day, not only do you then get to enjoy that joy, but then you can raise the question of how do I get some more of it? How do I multiply it? And I think it's a great question in a team, particularly because different people will find different things joyful. And that's also helpful to know. So, in the consulting team, I really love, client interactions. That feels really fun and inviting. And then a fellow partner may not. So it's oh, great. Okay. I'll do most of the leading the client calls. Somebody else on the team might love, I don't know, the customer interviews or employee interviews that we do. Great. Also, so often we have a focus on what's the growth and what's the edge and how are you pushing yourself? But sometimes the question should just be what makes you happy and what are you good at? And also a lot of times what you're good at makes you happy. And so I think we really undervalue playing in position, both in terms of our strengths and our joys. How do we just help each other have a good day? And then also, don't forget to bank it when you do find that joy. It's like leaving $100 bills on the ground, pick it up. If you are in a really amazing conversation, recognize that and say how cool is my life right now?
Yeah.
It's there for you.
I want to say one last thing, Heather, and then I'll be quiet for a second, is that I think one of the things you go on to say there, right, is look at the patterns, see the repeat, see where there's shared joy, because then I think that gives you insight into say, okay, here's what's really resonating. How do we create more of it, right?
Yeah.
How do I duplicate the best, right?
Mm-hmm.
Strength-based leadership is my love language, so you're speaking my love language. Heather, you were going to say something else.
So just so many gems here, Bree. I teach a concept, what you focus on expands. So if we focus on the good, we're going to expand that good. You want more joy? Like you said, keep receipts or become aware in the moment when you're like, this is awesome, give yourself that, right? So what you focus on expands. But I want to know fun. Is it top down, down up? Who can bring the fun? Is it a leadership thing? Is it a team member thing?
Well, it's ideally a leadership thing. And if it's not a leadership thing, well, then it can be an individual thing. The best case scenario is that you have a leader who believes it's worthwhile for employees to have good days. And beyond just employee engagement drives performance, which it does, but also just a leader who genuinely believes I'm working with people I care about, and I would like for their days to be good and ergo their lives to be good. Like, so that's at its best. And especially if that leader can show up in all their humanity, like, Beck, I see this in you, like, all over the place. Like, we came on today and you're like, I need a haircut. My hair looks like a Q-tip.
I am a Q-tip, yes.
Right? Like, it was just so human. We heard all about like your variations on your beard. Like, now, like, it's just so very human. Like, you've got a head and there's hair that grows on it. Like, what is more human than that?
Shocking.
Yeah.
Right?
Shocking. I am shocked.
Yes. But it creates an environment for everyone else to also be humans who have heads with maybe hair, unless you're bald, in which case, you're welcome too. So that's the ideal, right? Like, top down, we value our days because they're our days. And also we show up as a human, which is the prerequisite to any kind of fun. It's very hard to enjoy yourself if you don't feel like yourself first.
Right.
Amen to that. I mean, 1,000,000% over. And I will just say that, when I was making the choice of where to go next in my career, I think that was, for me, so paramount, is that I wanted to make sure that I was in a place that I could show up as the best version of myself, which meant unburdening of all of the, workplace PTSD, being able to share authentically about who I was, or if I was having a bad morning with my kids because they just wouldn't put their darn shoes on. And our house is, layered with lots of ability complications and, different abilities. And so that means some days that there are just really bad days. And my team knows that I'm not coming, but the ability to be vulnerable and know that I wasn't judged for that vulnerability. And then I also created that space for the team. Like, to be the best version of myself, I had to unpack all of that in order to create a place where the team felt. And so thank you for saying that, because that's so much a part of what I'm trying to do every single day for everybody. I had a team member on a team meeting call on Monday that said, we just got the first time to actually meet. We've been working together now, I think, for like 4 months, and we've been in Zoom rooms and on calls and all the things, but hadn't had a chance to meet in person. And she said to the team, I just have to stop and say, like, Beck, you are the most authentic person, whether it's in a Zoom room or in person. Like, who you show up as a Zoom person is the same person I met on your front porch when I gave her tickets to a concert that somebody had given us. And that was like the biggest, nicest compliment that I think I may have ever received in my life, because it's so part of how I'm trying to live my life today.
You are living your life.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yes. Acknowledge. Yes. So thank you for that, Bree. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah. I mean, in spades, you are unapologetically yourself. And I just want that for everybody.
Yeah. I want to ask one other question, if I can, about one of the tactical things that you talk about. And it's similar to something we talk about, Heather. We've talked about favorites before, and right, like that we capture our team's favorites, and that way, right, it informs, if somebody's having a good day, if somebody's going through a transition, it's a simple way to recognize them. So it's, it helps me to know my team's coffee order. If I'm having a bad day, somebody's having a bad day, I can send them their favorite candy. It's just a way to do like simple little pickups, right? Or just say like, hey, just thinking of you. But you kind of a similar concept is that you talk about this idea of what is it called? The personal manual, I think.
User manual.
User manual. Yes, user manual. Thank you. I'm curious if you've worked with organizations to implement this and you've seen any sort of reaction to it, but if you can talk a little bit about what the user manual is for our listeners, because I think it's a very similar idea to the favorites piece. It's like another way to get to know us. So if you can kind of talk to our folks about that and what that means. I love this idea and tactic.
Yeah. User manuals go well 100% of the time when I use them with teams and clients. So I actually got the practice back from grad school when Georgia and I probably learned about it, your colleague, at the same time. So it goes like this. It's essentially and literally a document where everybody on the team gets one page. And on that page is a series of questions that team member would answer about themselves and how they work. So some of the questions are, you can make up your own, but I have a template people can download. The people and animals most important to me in my life. It's amazing how long you can work with someone before they're like, oh yeah, I have a brother. You're like, oh my God, it's been years. I didn't know that about you. Sort of basic level, people and animals important to you, what you value in a team, how somebody can help if you're stressed or stuck. Other questions like how I deal with change. A great day at work to me looks like blank. What I'm trying to get better at work, joys or commitments for me outside of work. So you can mix and match these questions. But the idea is, can we accelerate the period of getting to know who someone is and how they work faster than like, oh, I've been on Zoom meetings with them for 3 years and I'm just now realizing when they're upset and I bombard them with questions, they don't like that. So I call it a user manual. It's sort of like a cheeky term because it's like you get a blender and you're like, what do all these buttons do? Well, it's like, well, just look at the user manual. There's a quick start guide. Well, why can't people just come with the same? So for example, when I'm stressed out, I want someone to talk me through it. I'm very much a verbal processor. So I put in mind when I'm stressed or stuck, you can ask me, like, tell me all about it. Let's talk it through. And that is the exact wrong advice for many other people who, when they're stressed or stuck, they're like, leave me alone. Like, I need space. Do not come near me. That's so annoying that you're asking me all these questions.
If you work with a processor, right? Wrong approach, right? Like the person needs to process. I don't know how I feel about it.
Exactly. So why can't we just share those things up front and get to know somebody? So the exercise just goes like, you can, when I do with clients or project teams to kick off any new project, we create the template, everybody fills theirs in, and then we go around the room or Zoom room. And one by one, people, if you have time, you share all your answers or you share a few of the answers and then read them later. And it's just a way to feel seen and to see other people. And you could totally do questions like, what's your favorite candy? Optionally, what's your birthday? In case people want to say happy birthday. If anyone does want a template, there's one on my website. It's breegroff.com/user manuals, and you can download one.
It is one of my favorite things about the book is the QR codes that are sort of woven throughout. So shout out to, if that was your idea, kudos to you. If it was your editor's idea, I don't know whose, but brilliant idea, because I think for me, one of the things that really resonates me in a leadership book in particular, a book that's similar to yours, that I would say like where your book belongs on the bookshelf, right, is that kind of topic, theme, whatever. And I hate when there's not the tactical specific things like, I don't need to know the whole big picture, right? Like, yes, okay, I get it. How do I facilitate this in my own organization? You talked about it, but like, I need to know the brass tacks of it. Like, how do I do this? Give me the template, for crying out loud. And then I also love like the random pictures, like the picture of your cat in the basket. Heather, you're going to get a copy of the book, to be clear, but it's an excellent read. Add it to your list.
Cannot wait.
Thanks.
Cannot wait. So tell us about the book. I know we kind of jumped right into like the platform and who you speak with and for and do, but let's talk about this book. I mean, how many pages are we talking here? Is this a quick read? Sounds like there are some exciting activities in there. Tell us all about it.
Yeah. Okay. So I should say I don't really like most business books.
Neither do I. I think
so I was. Yeah. I was like, okay, if I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a book that I would actually want to read. So I don't want it to be super professional, like drowning. Yeah, if anyone can see, Beck's holding up my neon smiley face. So, I don't want walls of text, like overly drawn out argumentation where someone is like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do with this? So I wrote it in little like snackable vignettes. They're all little stories, lessons, tools, mindsets, prompts. So it's very much a book that you can, open over breakfast and read a little bit and put it away. I was also, as I was writing, I think like social media has very few redeeming qualities maybe, but like this was one, because like I'm used to posting on like LinkedIn where I can post or share some thought and an image that really helps bring it to life. And I'm like, why can't it was frustrating me that I couldn't do it in the book. So I was like, well, we're just going to put in QR codes over the place because everyone has their phone sort of nearby. So when I wanted to share a template to a document or a picture that would bring the story to life. Now we have those in there as well. And then also, like, there's, in many ways, it's a serious book about having fun, in that, like, I really pull out the existential dread. There's like the Sunday scaries. What are you doing with your life if you're not enjoying? But also, I wanted it to be serious in content in many ways. Like, I take this seriously, but also the tone, I was like, I'm just going to write how I speak. So there's like more profanity than my editor was comfortable with. At the end of the book is a crossword puzzle, because I was making the case that in a world that just wants us to optimize every moment for efficiency, sometimes it's important to do things that have no purpose other than to give us pleasure. So I was like, you know what, maybe we just have the reader do a crossword puzzle right now, because that has no economic output. And I think it would be delightful. So I commissioned a crossword to be made for the book. So things like that. I very much wanted it to be a joy to read, in addition to advocating for the principles of joy.
So for our listeners who are coming to conference, and just to be clear, if you're any nonprofit in the state of Pennsylvania, shameless plug here, you can come to the conference. You don't have to be a community action agency. You can find more about the conference. We're launching registration here soon, depending on when this episode airs, but you can go to the CAAP.org and learn more about what we're going to be hosting at the conference. But you'll get a copy of the book as in our swag bag. Fun fact. We wanted to make sure to lift that up because we think it's a great read. But I'll give you kind of a quick snippet. And Amy, our editor, if you're listening, or our listeners, I'm about to cuss, so close the ears of the innocent, not the eyes. If you can close the eyes, I'm not going to do anything. So a couple of chapter titles, Heather. Shoveling shit is fun if you like your co-shovelers.
Yes.
I mean, true words have never been spoken. I also cuss a lot, Bree, to be clear. So like, I think that's also, again, I don't like all business books, so I was like, yes. You're the defender of date nights, crossword puzzles, and your health, right? I mean, your brain works whether you're wearing a suit or stretchy pants. And as somebody who likes a good suit, to be clear, like, I love suits. I have an overwhelming number of ties, bow ties, socks, shoes, because I do like to dress fancy. But also, I have a ridiculous, as my wife will tell you, even though I just went through the piles, a ridiculous t-shirt collection as well. So typically in a Zoom room, I'm in a t-shirt more often than I'm not. Anything else, Bree, that you want to make sure to share about the book that is something that, you want people to understand about what you were trying to speak to, or something that is just, right, like, if you hear nothing else, this is the thing I want listeners to hear, or readers to hear?
I think particularly for those in impact organizations, there's so much of a focus on the impact, right? Obviously so. And I think often we hear the message, put your oxygen mask on first so that you can then help others put their oxygen masks on. New parents hear that a lot too. And there's this notion of like, you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of others, which is all true. But my rebuttal would be, put your oxygen mask on because you're a human who gets to breathe. Like, you deserve to breathe. And so that's my hope for those like doing the incredible, important work of serving others, that you too are a human that gets to enjoy your days. And I hope you'll take a moment and look for some of the joy in it, because it's on offer. If we just take a moment to feel like we're deserving of it and bank it in the moment.
Well, as a recovering English teacher, I mean, I will tell you, I loved it. I think, with a little bit that I have gotten to know you in our kind of prep call about conference and what Georgia has shared and reading and, doing some deep Googling on you, I think your book really, even just, for our listeners, Bree sent a couple of us her swag box with the book, and even just what you included in the swag box feels so authentically you, right? And we've not met in person. We're going to soon, but I think it's really a branding amazingness, Heather. I don't know what else to call it. I mean, it's just like, it's perfection in terms of like content, how you show up in your writing. Bree, I think it's really, I can't say enough about it.
Oh,
It's beautiful.
No.
thanks.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Thank you for being willing to go on the journey of hanging out with CAAP for a little bit at our conference in October. We're excited to have you.
Oh my God, now I have to pick my Halloween costume that I'm going to wear for karaoke. I'm sorry.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta, right. I mean,
Right.
I'm looking for suggestions for my Halloween costume. So Heather, feel free. Bree, feel free. I don't know what it's going to be yet. We'll see.
We'll start thinking.
Well, to our listeners, thank you for joining us on another episode of hanging out with us, putting on your thinking cap, learning a little bit about work and how to bring back joy and fun in our everyday lives. I think, would love to dig into this topic more, Bree, but this purpose of this episode is to do kind of the sneak peek. So if you're left wanting more, that's the purpose of this discussion today. So mission accomplished, Heather.
Oh, fantastic. I'm glad that I was here because I'm going to miss conference, but Bree, you're going to be a powerhouse. I cannot wait for all the attendees to get a little dose of you, sister, because the world needs it. Now, before conference, you can go to breegroff.com. That is 2 E's, 2 F's, breegroff.com. You're getting a copy of the book if you go to a conference, but if not, you can purchase there and find more information on Bree there, breegroff.com.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. Cap out.
Cap out.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of this episode of The Thinking CAAP. Check the show notes for resources and links to other episodes. And don't forget to subscribe and follow to be notified when new episodes are released. If you have any community action questions you'd like Beck or one of our local experts to answer in a future episode, please email your questions about community action to info@thecaap.org. Subject line, Thinking CAAP.